Hey, dude.
Hey,
How are you, man?
by the way, I love that Thanos picture.
Thank you very much.
I mean, look at this dude.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, I love. Ever since I was a kid, he was a
He's awesome.
personal hero of mine.
Yeah. I mean, who wouldn't want to snap their fingers and get rid of half the fucking world? I'd only want to be able to select, though. I wouldn't want to do it, that crazy that you just take out innocent people. But I could definitely, if I could pick,
Just
it'd be awesome.
certain states of the United States, and I'm just certain IQ levels. No, I'm just.
Yeah. Hey, did you like my t-shirt?
I like your affliction T-shirt. It really.
Something funny about Affliction is we don't really it's not in Australia. And I get all this Affliction stuff from my friend Jose Mangan. And
Oh, I know him.
yeah, and over in America, I was watching Tiger King recently and I'm like, this dude's wearing all Affliction shit.
Yes,
I think I
sir.
had the same shirt on.
You know,
So
I was called recently on YouTube on a comment ignorant because I haven't seen Tiger King.
oh fuck. I think you can be called ignorant over anything now. People like get educated.
Get
That's it.
educated, man. You need to know about the tiger and what's her Carol Baskins or
Carol
whatever.
Baskin. Yeah.
Look, I'll say this: I will not watch Tiger King. I don't care. I saw the trailer. That's all I needed to see. I'm good. I
Yeah.
get it.
Well,
I grew up around a bunch of insane white people, and
yeah, well, I
but
think it's a different reality for Americans watching Tiger King because it's like, wow, it just reminds me that that's real.
yeah, no, well,
Whereas,
I don't know. I honestly, I'm a conspiracy theorist in that I think that all that shit's fake. I think that that whole documentary is fake. Well,
well, I mean, if it
um,
is, and because I always was like, is Jerry Springer real? Like that can't be real. Those people can't be real.
no,
But
they have meetings before the show, I'm sure.
mm,
But I'll say so. What I was saying was, I'm not gonna watch Tiger King, but I am gonna watch Tiger King with Nicolas Cage.
yeah, oh, that's good, dude.
I
And he
am.
will nail it. Like he will nail the shit out of that role.
I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
It might result in me watching the original after, but for
It's
now,
actually, I mean, it's wild. I mean, here we are talking about Tiger King. It's probably not what you wanted to talk about, but it's wild that, I mean, if it is fake, it's fucking good. Like how it's so insane. Like the shit that guy, Joe Exotic, gets himself into. And he's just, yeah, it's nuts. So I mean, it's whatever way you look at it. I mean, I watched it and went, oh, I don't know, and then I'm like, this guy's, and every episode it just keeps peeking out like another thing that you just going, fuck. There's no limit.
so I don't know if maybe it's just because I'm getting old. I've been kind of not really feeling a lot of the newer things that people are obsessed about, like Tiger King, Uncut Gems was one, and
Seen that one?
shit, Good Time. I don't know, the one with Robert Pattinson from Twilight. Uh,
Yeah, I haven't.
people, huh? You haven't seen any of that?
No, I haven't seen any of those. But like, I'm a massive um,
Twilight fan.
Christopher Nolan, not Twilight, Christopher Nolan Batman franchise fan. So
Okay.
it's kind of like anyone, and Christian Bale. I'm a huge Christian Bale fan. So anyone kind of stepping into that role, I've got a bit of like, oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, me too. I love Bat. I mean, I have this really shitty Batman tattoo that I got drunk at like 3 in the morning. Uh,
Oh yeah, yeah, I see it. Like when he's
uh,
standing on the end of the building. Is
right.
it that
Yeah.
one?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I'm supposed to have like the building and all this other nonsense, but then my dude that did the tattoo moved to like Paris without finishing it, and
yeah,
it
that'll
was
do it.
3 in the morning. He was like, "Yeah, well, let's get you a free tattoo, man." And we were drinking whiskey, and that was all mistakes. But, but
Do you want to
anyway,
see my Bane impersonation?
oh please.
Yeah, maybe I'll keep them on. Ready? And I've got to. It doesn't matter who you are. What matters is our plan. Hey,
That was good. That was good.
thanks.
Yeah. I mean, I understood what you said, so it was a little off because I like to not understand what he's saying.
Yep.
But I'm kidding. But yeah, I love the Nolan verse, man. I love Batman, and
And I mean,
when I heard
that,
Robert Pattinson, I'm like, no.
yeah. But I mean, the actors in that, like, there was some really good actors. I mean, fucking, what's his name? God.
Oh, Gary Oldman.
Well, yeah, Gary Oldman is incredible.
Perfect Gordon. I mean, could not ask
Yeah.
for a better Gordon.
No, he was just spot on. And fuck, why can't I think of his name? Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman, yeah, as Fox.
Lucius Fox was so cool.
Yeah, man.
And fucking Tom Hardy, man, he's an amazing actor.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll forgive him for Venom. We'll move past that one.
I think he just, yeah, I mean, but still, given I'm just not into Venom as a character. Like, it's just too kind of over the top, like with the teeth and the gnashing and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, Taboo was a TV show. It's like the whole thing was like a poem. Like, it was just amazing dialogue and kind of in that supernatural, but a period piece. And yeah, fuck, it was good. I love Tom Hardy.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I found out about him through Bronson when that first came out. I love that.
Yeah, well, that was psycho, and he was really good in Fighter. The Fighter, I think it's called.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
He got traps that came out of his fucking ears.
I've been working on those over the quarantine. Just kind of like, you know, I want to get
Doing
jacked.
Doing some. What's the exercise? You just gotta do this.
I just do the shoulder shrugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, what I think I was saying before all this is that, you know, there's a fascination with characters that are awful people. Like the Tiger King is an awful person. You know, the Uncut Gems, Adam Sandler's character is just a piece of shit. And same thing with Good Time with Robert Pattinson. His character's a piece of shit. And people are into that. And I'm not. I'm not into it because I'm a piece of shit. I don't need to.
You wanna have someone to look up to put
right. I need inspirations.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think, you know, I mean, that opens another wormhole. I think that's why a lot of people didn't like the new Star Wars films, is because they took characters that kind of represented archetypal, like, you know, morally sort of superior people, and then they just kind of flipped it. And it's like, you know, if you're kind of more of a secular person, like as in you know, you don't follow a strong religion, Star Wars is based on the monomyth. It's based on the hero's journey, and like those archetypes they're almost biblical. Like they're you know, so to have Luke throw his lightsaber away and just be this loser on an island, like it's kind of like telling a Christian Jesus is actually a bonghead, you know?
No, I hear that. Yeah, and
the theory.
And I blame Disney. I love Disney.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I grew up watching all of the cartoons and big part of my life. But it's also the problem with what happened with the Avengers. I thought Infinity War was fantastic, and then the Endgame, I didn't like it at all. And I get that it was well done. You know, my friends are like, but it's so good. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Good production, great, yeah, tons of money, whatever. But what I didn't like was the humanization of like fat drunk Thor, while hilarious and awesome, and I would totally watch a Twitch stream of just fat drunk Thor and the Korg, the rock dude. I would watch that all day. But at the same time, I'm a fat drunk Thor. I don't need to see fat myself. I'm not looking for a mirror. I'm looking for a superhero.
Yeah,
you know, to inspire, I hear you. You know, and like you said, that you pointed that out in Star Wars, like by humanizing them and making them more trivial, like more like people.
Yeah,
they're opening it up for more of an audience, for more people to relate and say, oh, I can relate to that, and then, you know, more money. But it kind of breaks down the narrative or the story, I guess.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. It takes you out of the fantasy. I guess it's a little bit of a strange and daring detour. I think maybe Deadpool kind of opened that up a little bit, you know, like where all of a sudden you can have like a superhero who's irreverent and kind of chaotic, but you still sort of got, you know, in an American lingo, rooting for them.
Right.
You know, but anyway, it's I'll always watch superhero films, even if I fucking hate them. I'll just always get into it, I suppose. But
Yeah, me too. I mean, again, I'm not excited about anything that's coming from Marvel after the Infinity War. It was, to me, I was very excited for the whole arc because I loved Thanos and I loved the Infinity Gauntlet and the comics, the Infinity Crusade, all that shit. I grew up with that. So I was very excited to see all that. And then now I'm kind of like, whatever comes next, I don't really care. But I'm probably still going to go watch all of it. I'm probably going to watch the Robert Pattinson Batman too. I mean,
I definitely will. I mean, I really enjoyed the first season of Mandalorian.
That was great. I liked it.
I think that dude, whoever's directing, the guy that can't remember his fucking name, but I think he's doing a great job. There are a couple episodes. Well, they have different directors every episode, I think, actually.
They do, yeah. Like I know Taika Waititi did one. He's from New Zealand.
He's going to be doing a new Star Wars film.
He's doing a new Star Wars film.
Yeah.
What was it's not how I keep wanting to say Vince Vaughn, his friend from Swingers. Shit. He's in Iron Man. He's a happy.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy's been
Jon Favreau. There we go.
Yes.
He's the one that's directing a lot of it.
Yeah. I think he's the sort of secret weapon that's bringing some of these franchises, you know. Is that the plural, franchise?
Franchisee? Franchises? I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, I love all that shit, man. I mean, watching movies and TV shows is probably my most, that's what I do to get away from everything else.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Movie Talk.
Yeah.
No, but for those that are, you know, watching and are not aware, you are Stevic
Yep.
Mackay from 12 Foot Ninja. Tell me why 12 Foot Ninja? What is the fascination with ninjas and why not samurai?
Well, this is a long story, so I'm going to keep it super brief. But 12 Foot Ninja is actually a story that I wrote in 2007 and have since been planning how best to tell that story for the past 12 years or whatever it's been, 7, 8, 9, 13 years. And soon will be revealed in that front, and it's been that long in the making, so it takes a long time to build this shit. It's again, I mentioned Joseph Campbell in the Monomyth. I'm a big fan of I guess stories with morality that you can connect to, like the aspirational stuff, without being, you know, the Mary Sue or the Gary Stew or whatever the male equivalent is. You know, I think having flaws, trial over adversity, I think is what's interesting. So the 12 Foot Ninja started off as a samurai, but without giving away any of the story, was taken in by a ninja clan who actually murdered his. Actually, no, I'm
Okay.
So yeah, the thing that I guess I'm looking forward to getting out there is that the name 12 Foot Ninja and this whole project, even though we have fun with videos and, you know, we do all this crazy sort of shit, it's actually connected to quite an in-depth story that I've been looking forward to telling for a long time, and that will happen this year.
Awesome. I mean, is that what you're doing with your quarantine time?
Partially, but I mean, to be honest, I hate that precursor, to be honest, because it kind of implies that everything else I'm saying could be a lie. But I'm the this quarantine thing hasn't. I'm always quarantined. Like it doesn't. I haven't really, apart from no touring, nothing has really changed for me other than, you know, um, I washed and sanitized my hands more than I already do because I'm a bit of a germaphobe. I actually started to, the skin on my knuckles started to just disintegrate from like
Too much
just going
washing.
over. Yeah, just too much, too much. So I've had to back that off. But yeah, so that's a long way of saying not really. I've just been working like the same, like regardless.
Okay. I'm actually taking the opposite approach of everyone else and washing myself less.
Okay.
I figure this way I can build a tolerance, build
Or a
my
force field, like a shield.
yeah. I just a force field of garbage,
Where are you? What state are
dirt.
you?
I am in California, Long Beach. So it's daytime. I know it's real early for you. You're in the future, right? Isn't it
I
like
am
9 a.m. the next day?
9:18 a.m. Correct. Yep.
I'm having a beer already because it's almost 5 o'clock. So
Is that Deftones beer?
that is a Deftones beer, the Phantom Bride.
Nice.
I bought a 6 pack of it for their Diamond Eyes 10th anniversary thing.
I really like Deftones.
They're a good band. They're a good band.
Yeah.
They're one of my favorites, honestly. I put that up too for the 10th anniversary. But um, the differences in time zone isn't really the only thing. Like I want to know how Australia is dealing with the quarantine situation because out here it's madness. It's
Yeah.
you have people complaining about the quarantine and people that are supporting it. It's just chaos.
Yeah. I've
So
seen, I mean, a lot of, we get a lot of American media. Um, Over here, there's no protests. Everyone did what they were told. And in the state that I'm in, I don't think we've had a case in like 4 or 5 days. So it's easier. Australia's like a tugboat and America's like a massive oil tanker. Like if you need to do a U-turn, takes you a long time. Whereas we're smaller, like we can just pass shit through and it just happens. So I think Australia and New Zealand, I think have been pretty good. We've had a couple of it's interesting actually. What I'm concerned about this COVID thing is everyone going, yeah, we're doing really well, everything's cool, and then easing off on the restrictions and then having second wave kind of outbreaks. That's happened like on small scales. I mean, they jump on it super quick. Like in the state I'm in, they had a bit of an outbreak in a hospital. So they quarantined 5,000 people and shut the hospital down like straight away. And that kind of got control of it. But there's been a couple of things in other states like, where someone's got it and then they haven't realized and then they've done all this, dealing with other people. And so summary is, it's, I think, starkly different to the US. I think US is just getting hammered by this COVID thing and it's horrific. I spoke to a fella in New York and he's saying they've repurposed like refrigeration trucks to take bodies away because there's so many people dying and fucking like it sounds like a war,
mm-hmm.
So by comparison, it's been pretty good.
It's just funny to me to because I just got off the phone too with the gentleman Anders from Satyricon and Cadaver out in Norway, and he's telling me his perspective as well. And just to hear a global perspective compared to what we're getting fed here, on not just the news. I don't watch the news. I don't have TV, but I have Facebook, and everybody's posting everything, and all I see is people like, oh, this is fake. This is a fake pandemic. I'm like, it's a government conspiracy by the Democrats to whatever, or it's a conspiracy from Trump to win the election. I'm like, guys, this is happening around the world.
Yeah.
It's not just about us.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think if I was going to speculate about that from my perspective, I think dogma is the thing I've got in the in the gun from my point of view. Pardon the pun, I suppose, but any kind of dogmatic beliefs that can't be put on the table and questioned are a problem. And I think a big part of a lot of my American friends, is, you know, you go through school getting told, you know, we are the greatest country in the world, and this sort of, it's almost like America becomes the center of the universe, how it's taught, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's no denying America is an incredible country that's got an unmatched history of crazy innovation and achievement.
And
But I think
crazy.
it's dangerous to be like, you know, to have that thought. I think you see it sort of rear up in these situations where there's this bizarre Hollywood-esque narrative that the government at any time could turn on the people and put them in gas chambers and fucking, you know, like they're trying to fuck them up or whatever. And it's just, I don't know, we just don't have that in Australia. There's not one fiber of my being that goes, the government's going to kill me. I just don't think that. It just doesn't even occur to me as a possibility.
Yeah.
Whereas I think I know a lot of American folks that have fucking AR-15s and all this like arsenal, and they're ready for this shootout or something. And I'm like, let's just entertain the idea the government was crazy and did want to kill you. They're not going to do it by knocking on your door and having a gunfight. It'll be a fucking drone sent through the keyhole, and you know.
Exactly. That's what I try to tell my friends too. I have friends that have like lockers full of guns, and I'm like, yo, first of all, before you get your ass over to that locker to get your gun, you're dead.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
Second of
I
all,
mean,
what do you think your little gun is going to do against a tank?
yeah.
Do you have a
Yeah.
tank?
I mean, but like I said, I just don't think it'll ever come to that, you know, and
Right.
that's why it's frightening, you know, these protests of people all getting together and going, you know, it's our right to do whatever. Like this is bullshit. Time to get rid of the lockdown. I mean, it's not to punish people for no reason. It's like to protect people, the more vulnerable in society. You know, anyone who's of a certain age or anyone that's immune system compromised in any way, it's to protect those folks. And it's hard when America's population is so massive.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. I'm worried about like where it's all going for the States. Without if I mean, hopefully a vaccine sort of comes to fruition. But I mean, even the time it takes to it takes 6 months to just trial a vaccine. So anything that happens in the near future will be just pure crazy accident. This is going to go for a while.
Yeah.
And mass gatherings, I don't think we're going to play shows for like, shows won't happen for a long time. So, I mean, I've been seeing these bands going, oh, we're just pushing it back to fucking
August.
November or whatever. Yeah. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. Like, so anyway.
Yeah, it's a bummer too, man. I haven't seen you guys live. I've been a fan for a bit, and you know, ever since the first album. Well, not the first album, the second album. The video "Coming for You" was the first thing I saw,
Yep.
and you know, I immediately like at first when it first started, I'm like, huh, these dudes are dressed like ninjas. Their name has ninja. Maybe it's a little over the top, maybe it's too on the nose, and then as the video progressed, I'm like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yep. See, we went, what's the most cliche thing you could possibly do playing heavy music? Dress in black, playing abandoned warehouse. We need drips. Like there needs to be drips in a puddle. Like it's all actually kind of a parody. Like,
Yeah.
We weren't going, yeah, that's tough, man. We look tough. I'm like, yeah, that's good. It looks like every other fucking metal video that's ever been made.
Yeah.
I think people get this sort of not sarcasm, facetiousness, perhaps, and it's just about having fun. It's just, you know, that's the main deal. But yeah,
I immediately connected with the Latin part of the video because I'm Cuban. So immediately when I saw the cigars and the, you know, the ding, 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 I was like, oh shit, all right.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, Latin music is, I think, some of the coolest. Like, there's so many different genres that have so many unique qualities. So yeah, I have huge respect for Latin music, and I try and, well, Roa and I both sort of played quite a bit of Latin stuff, and we try and incorporate it in there as much as we can. I actually had an Argentinian lecturer at university, and we did a lot of stuff, on Latin music and sort of the stereotypes about Latin culture through Hollywood, which was really interesting. And not just Hollywood, even like Looney Tunes cartoons, like how people kind of attribute qualities based on like, if you think tango, a lot of people think Addams Family with the rose and, this straight arm, and the tango is like the Argentinian national dance, and it's nothing like that. And the sexualization of Latin dancing and stuff because of literally because of Dirty Dancing and this sort of this weird undertone. Yeah. Anyway, it's fucking interesting shit, but I don't profess to know a lot, but I know that I love it.
I mean, I grew up around it, dude. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I used to teach people how to dance salsa. And
no shit.
Like casino, like where there's a circle with like maybe 5 or 6 couples.
Yeah.
And then it's a circle and everybody's dancing to the song, and then one person's in charge of calling out moves. And so like the mountain, and then everybody does this move with their partner, and then they kind of they switch partners. They call for a switch, and you pass your dance partner over, and you get the next partner to dance with you.
Nice.
And I've always been fascinated with it, and I love the culture. But one thing that I guess I'm kind of an outsider too, because I listen to metal, and I would show up to classes with my like Metallica shirt or whatever, and they were like, what are you doing here? And but I always noticed that Latin music, like that for example, that little keyboard part you have in that song, Coming For You, is very traditional, and like it's in a lot of songs.
Yes.
So a lot of their songs have very similar things. It's the cowbell, the clave, ding ding, and it has a ding 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 ding, like it's
but
funny.
I mean, I suppose that's what like on that, just that, because that's the thing that fascinates me the most is any kind of, like if you see a sort of cake-like thing with a hole in the middle and icing on it, you're going to go, that's a donut,
Right.
So it's kind of like, for anything to be anything, it's got to have sort of some kind of parameters, on what makes it what it is. Like, I know that sounds a bit fucking Dr. Zeus, but like if you take reggae, like what makes reggae? Like, and at what point is it no longer reggae? That's the interesting thing. So like the thing that I still like, that blew my mind when I was at uni, was all of the characteristic sort of idiosyncrasies of all the different genres of Latin music. It's mind blowing. And the instruments, certain instruments, like it could be a combination of the use of the instrument, the particular rhythms, and there are so many sort of slightly different rhythms. The key could play some role, whether it was the purpose of the song, like whether it was a celebratory thing or, there's so many details to it. So yeah, sorry, I hijacked you.
No, it's great. And then you mentioned reggae. Like you guys also have chunks that are little chunks of reggae in the songs as well, and I appreciate that so much because I'm multicultural like that, and I listen to everything. And it's not like there's a lot of like metalheads that are just elitist, that there's just death metal, or I only listen to thrash, and I got my jean jacket with the patches, and like I get it, and that's cool. But have you heard this? And most of the time they don't really open up to that. But I've always been a big fan of just all kinds of music. And that's why I was so fascinated with you guys. And
Thanks,
and then most recently, you guys put out a cover of Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah.
and dude, I grew up on Huey Lewis. That was the first concert I ever went to. I went to see Huey Lewis and the News when I was like 12 in Vegas.
That's nuts.
And it was amazing. And they did a full set, and then they came back out after and did a full a cappella set, and they just destroyed.
Yeah. No, they're good musos, man. Like, man, Huey Lewis is like a weapon harmonica player. They are, they're all the real deal. Like, they can all play, and the thing is, like it might not be obvious, but they're genre mashers. Like they're mixing doo-wop, R&B, blues, obviously pop and rock, like, and even just bringing those elements together, plus the new wave, like there's even a new wave kind of vibe. Like they're all different genres, and like putting them together is what makes it, I don't know, gives it its own, pretty distinct sound, I think. So it was fun. All you had to do is sprinkle heavy shit on top, and you've got this completely different thing.
Yeah, and not only. Go ahead.
Sorry,
man. No, go ahead.
I was going to say about the metal thing, because we've crashed into metal elitists quite a bit. I think it's all about, I've thought a lot about why I think that occurs. I reckon when you listen to music, for the joy of music and the feeling that it gets you, and especially if you grew up with a different culture that had different music, you have different relationships with different genres. I feel like that's, it's totally subjective, but I feel like that's a good place to be open to appreciate things. But if you listen to music because it informs your own sense of identity, it's another type of dogma that closes you off. It's like if you want to be a tough guy, like tough guys only listen to tough sounding music,
Right,
so if you listen to anything else, all of a sudden, hang on, does that make me fucking gay or something? Like if I listen
is that singing? What are you, gay?
Yeah. So it's like, I think it's about your relationship with what you're actually consuming. If you think it defines, you're maintaining some sort of fabricated identity, then you're going to have a weird reaction to shit that you shouldn't have a weird reaction to, because it challenges who you are. Like it challenges who you think you are.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't give a fuck about that. Like I think you can, you can find, hey, listen to, this will test some people, but if you want to hear amazing production, Toxic by Britney Spears.
Dude, I love that song so much.
Like, you don't have to like, that's the thing. You don't have to like Britney Spears. You don't have to like her voice. You don't even have to endorse her as a musical entity, but just listen to that fucking song and the way it's been put together and stuff. Like, I don't know. I kind of feel it's sort of a secret. Like that, if you're closed off to all this shit, there's like lessons to be learned in every little fucking tune,
Yeah.
But if you're only like, I only listen to metal, you're going to create a fucking band or whatever that sounds like every other band. And unless you can do it better than Meshuggah or any of the, the stalwarts of this genre, like good luck, it's hard.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Sorry, I went on a rant then.
No, it's true. It's true. And I always preach to my friends, like, I think Thong Song from Cisco is one of the greatest songs ever created. And I get shit about it all the time because they're like, what are you talking about? It's a song about thongs. I'm like, yeah, but we heard the violins.
Thongs over here. Yeah, well, dude, when you're dealing with these top 3% tier fucking epic pop phenomenons, like they don't get dickheads producing their shit. They've got people who have dedicated their lives and they're on the edge, they know their craft is just on point. And there's that's why it really pisses me off when I see people saying something shit or meh or whatever, like bagging stuff. Like you got to at least respect the artistry, like I saw someone saying Jurassic Park was shit. What? And I'm like, the amount of people involved in that and to like of the era, like that film fucking blew my mind when it first came out. You look at it now and our expectations are have increased for CGI believability, but far out, it was impressive at the time. Mm-hmm. And I still think, like all of the people that work on that, it's like years of their life go into it. It's I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit arty-farty, but I think you can dislike something from a subjective point of view, but you always got to respect the work. That's what I reckon.
Well, we live in a time now where everybody just feels very comfortable calling something trash. Oh, that's trash. That's garbage. Like, guys, come on. Yeah. Like, look at Look at
Words
a
are losing their meanings, aren't they? Like,
yeah. It's like look at Game of Thrones. Everybody
yeah,
hated the finale.
yeah,
My friends were hitting me up like, "Oh my god, that was awful. That was garbage." I'm like, "Look, it wasn't great, but can you do better?
yeah.
Where's
Well, that's
your
the
Game
thing.
of Thrones finale?"
Yeah, yeah. Wouldn't it be good if you got to see that? I mean, that to me, that's kind of like what happens on YouTube. If you're getting some vitriol from someone, the best thing is when you can click on their profile and see their videos. Some of them are so fucking awful that it's not even worth writing back. And I just enjoy like watching. You know, it's like, come on, pot calling the kettle black. Like, shut the fuck up. You know. So
Yeah,
anyway.
man. No, you know, I hear you, and I love what you are doing, man. That we were talking about the Huey Lewis cover, but the video that comes with it is so appropriate because you know we're obviously all in this new space of doing things at home, and you all are individually in your own homes, and but also using those plugins are
Yeah.
perfect because that's everybody's doing that, you know, and in their own personal like interactions. There you go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just easy to. This one's good, actually.
I like that one. Yes.
Yeah, this is good. Actually, this one. Look at the physics on this. Right. Look at the
Oh my.
antennas when I move my head. Like they fully whip around. It's fucking awesome, isn't it?
It's great. It's great. I
Yeah.
see the little teeth moving with like each word.
Yeah.
It's you know, I think you guys knocked it out of the
That's fucking weird, isn't it? So it made my yeehaw.
Yeehaw, buddy. Oh
Check
my.
it on a chain.
Let me ask you something since you brought up the cowboy. Are there cowboys in Australia? Because there's a weird Latino cowboy culture that I don't understand because to me cowboy
Ah,
is an American thing. So I see like a lot of
as in
Mexican
like,
dudes and they wear the cowboy hat and they got the you know the flannel shirt and the bandana and like the boots and they got cattle and whatever. Like is that a thing out there? Like the western kind of cowboy shit?
so like the people that would have large properties and stuff, how do they dress? Is that, or what culture? I mean, they
Oh,
wear, we
yeah.
have Akubra hats, which they're not quite, they're different to cowboy hats. So, you know, you see a lot of country folks wearing Akubras, you know, and maybe a flannelette shirt or whatever. But no, I don't think there's not the kind of like, I don't think there's that kind of emulation of like what is perceived to be cowboy culture from Hollywood films. You know,
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
really have that.
Is there any
But I
culture
mean,
that there's an emulation of? Like, because I know, like for example, Japanese people love to look like American pop stars. You know, so
yeah,
is there something like that?
yeah. Well, I mean, I like, again, this is kind of moving into controversial waters, but you know, like a lot of Australian hip hop is totally kind of, I guess,
Ripping off?
yeah, mimicking.
Mm.
Uh, what's a less derogatory word? But you know, like
Biting is the.
yeah, like it's kind of, I don't know, and even in, say, if you got um, housing commission kind of flats or whatever, that there's cultures like within those kind of lower socioeconomic areas that kind of almost mirror, you know, the perceived culture in those American equivalents, you know. So it could be lingo, whatever's in the vernacular, you know, all of the storylines like about, you know, people get, you know, gangs and dealing drugs and shit. It just sort of feels like a little like a microcosm of the origin of that, where it's coming from American. You know, I think we're heavily influenced by America. Like it's hard to deny that that's there because we all grew up watching TV and stuff. So you know, you could hear like an Aussie going yo yo, you know, doing all this shit and talking about stuff that you would usually see like coming from an American perspective.
Gotcha.
So whether that's answering your question or not, but that's how it appears to me. And I think the other thing you often see is, and this I think comes from major labels in particular, is if there's an American phenomenon, like in a commercial sense, there's always like a weird Australian version. Like we've kind of, without naming any names, we've sort of got a Beyonce, we've got, we've got a couple, like you pick out the kind of real mind blowing, we've got a Bruno Mars, but we've got our Aussie version. And that's not us. Like I've been to other like countries, particularly not English speaking countries, and they have the same thing. They'll have someone you're like, man, that's just like Shakira, like with the tone and everything. And it's
India does that a lot.
Yeah, that works. Let's fucking copy that. I mean, Iggy Azalea talks like I do. Like, have you heard her music?
I've heard her name, and I've actively avoided her music.
Well, just for fun, check out Iggy Azalea's music, and you're hearing my voice now. I have a very typical Australian accent. She talks like I do, but when she raps, it's like it could be Nicki Minaj or something. It's like, hang on, what the fuck?
Well, like even you guys, like I would say there isn't really. I mean, your singer doesn't really have like an accent when and that's also interesting. I don't know if that's intentional or if it's just something that happens naturally where there isn't really an accent. When someone has an accent and they're singing, it doesn't really come through into singing as much.
Yeah, I think they call it the universal accent, but really it's probably just an American accent. It's not full on American because of the R's, like the Americans kind of roll down, like in Australian, like the Aussies have an upward inflection, like we go up, whereas Americans go down. So I don't know. I think we'll definitely catch, like when we're tracking certain words and be like, is that, can we pronounce that a little bit like more in the middle, because it can go a bit American. And if it's too Australian, it kind of can sound a bit, like weird. There's a lot of, I think you'll hear it in a lot of, indie kind of music. You'll hear the thick Australian accent deliberately kind of utilized to kind of tie that music to, Australia, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's a band called the Waifs. Is it the Waifs? No, that's not the band. What are they called? Well, you could listen to someone called Missy Higgins that was popular in Australian music who doesn't, she keeps the Australian accent like in her songs.
Okay. Well, I mean, I always found accents to be interesting, and it's weird too, because you know how we were talking earlier that I'm kind of like this. I like everything. I'm multicultural. Like I'm Latino, but I'm also, I grew up here in America and I've traveled and, but I always feel sometimes like it's a struggle for me to have a conversation with somebody that has a thick accent. And I'm actually impressed that so far I haven't started talking with an accent to kind of match yours. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the Australian accent I've heard is one of the weirdest. Like it's just it's particularly difficult for Americans to do the Aussie accent.
Yeah.
And that's evident when you watch The Simpsons and they go to Australia. Anytime that happens, it ends up Cockney, sort of like sounding English.
Yeah.
More English than actually Australian. But yeah, I mean, it's a weird, definitely weird. And I mean, I think it does sound higher pitched to me, like when I'm talking to a lot of Americans, because we are kind of like, yeah,
oh, yeah,
yeah, you gonna fucking what? Everything goes up, know. It's all kind of excitable and yeah, it's funny.
I love it, man. I think it's way more exciting than the generic, American. I mean, I've been told I have an accent, but I don't even know. But
okay,
I find it fascinating when people have accents, and I always it's weird because it comes off as offensive, like I'm being offensive, but I'm not. I'm being respectful. I'm trying to elevate my shitty accent to yours. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And when you try to do like an English accent or a British accent, like you said, Cockney, and then like if you don't know how to do it properly, you end up sounding Jamaican.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's so weird.
It is weird. I mean, that's why going back to Christian Bale, like he did all the Dark Knight interviews in an American accent, and he's got a really thick what is he? Fucking, is he Scottish or Welsh or something?
Oh, yeah.
He's not American, but
No.
he did all the interviews in an American accent and had people convinced that he's American.
Yeah.
He's good, and I
I
mean
mean,
they get.
he
Sorry.
did. No, I was going to say he did great in American Psycho. Like he was a
Yes,
very straightforward American businessman. You know.
he nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think we have an advantage because I think every Western, like I don't know this for a fact, but I would take a wild guess just using Australia and England and stuff as an example. We get so much American television and pop culture. Like I'm watching The Last Dance now on Netflix, and I know every fucking every player's name. Like, you know, from that '90s era of NBA basketball. Like, it's weird how many players like I actually recognize. I wouldn't know fucking any of them now, pretty much. But like Spud, you'd see obscure players, Spud Webb or Mookie Blaylock or all these guys. Like I'm like, that's him. You know.
But I think that has a lot to do with the Olympics, man. Because even then, like during that time, myself, like I wasn't, I'm not a big basketball fan. Like I know Kobe Bryant because you know huge name or whatever. But back in like '92 during the Dream Team, I knew all of them. You know, John Stockton, Karl Malone, and you know all these dudes, and it was the Dream Team, and it was a different time. I feel, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm getting huge nostalgia member berries or whatever you call it watching that.
Member berries.
Because it's just so fucking good. Man, Michael Jordan is just a legend.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I heard this is the time we live in now. I heard about this documentary or series, you know, that you're talking about. I haven't started watching it yet, but I heard about it, and immediately my brain thought, "Oh, they made a documentary about Jordan, and it has to have some kind of controversy."
Yeah,
like
that he's secretly fucking fucks dead people or something. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, he smokes cigars while having sex with underage children, or you know, like that's what I expected, because you know, you hear about the R. Kelly documentary, or you hear about the Michael Jackson one, and like when I heard about this, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch that because I don't want to tarnish the memory I have of the legend Michael Jordan.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, there is a bit of controversy in there, but to Jordan's credit, he says he never wanted to be a role model. He just wanted to play basketball. Like, and it isn't like the controversy. I think it's just when you get put on such a high pedestal, people expect perfection. They don't have any allowance for, you know, human flaw. Like, and everyone dishing out the moral superiority online or whatever. I bet you could find something fuck they've done. You know, it's just there's no tolerance for it. But again, like one of the show kind of pointed out that people are obsessed with the rise and fall narratives. You know, like they want to back the person coming up and rising to the top, and when they get there, then they want to see them fall. You know, like it's just this thing that happens, which is brutal to go through. Yeah, fucking full on. But I mean,
yeah, it happens.
Like even this Huey Lewis thing, right? I mean, I love Huey Lewis's music. He sold 30 million albums. He had 5 number 1 singles off one album, but because it was kind of in the 80s, you know, it's like, you know, that's cool. But it's like you could talk to someone who might be popular now that's done a fucking skerrick of that. Like, and you know, I think it's this weird thing. Like for me, his music is just as good as when it came out. It doesn't matter.
The time,
you know, I don't know. It's sort of been a bit of a head fuck for me to kind of go, I can't believe I got the opportunity to talk to Huey Lewis.
Dude, that was insane. So that's how I found out about the cover. I found out because I saw you talking to Huey Lewis. I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I'm like, oh my God, they covered the song. And also, by the way, it made me very sad because I had no idea that he had lost his hearing.
Yeah, he's got I can't remember, something starts with M. I can't remember the pronunciation. It's some sort of inner ear liquid sort of thing that's like, you know, when you get vertigo, but actually can make you
too much swimming.
Hey,
too much swimming.
But the good news is it's not necessarily degenerative. Like it's not like it's a improve. Like he could come back, but I mean, like I saw something. He was suicidal at one point because his whole world revolves around music, and then all of a sudden he can't even fucking listen to it without it sound. It just sounds like, you know, garbled craziness. I thought he was a little bit somber at the start. You know, he kind of perked up like when we were chatting, but I mean, it's got to be hard for the dude.
Yeah,
Like,
man, that was the thought I had, and I told my wife, I'm like, you know how devastating it must be for someone like him, because that music is his life, and to not be able to hear it, like, oh fuck, that's one of my biggest fears. Everybody, they'll ask you like, what do you, if you had to pick, going blind or going deaf? Like, I'd rather go blind. There's a lot of ugly people. I'd rather just, as long as I can hear music, I'm all right.
yeah, I'd rather just lose my sense of smell.
Oh, that one sucks. I would get
Yeah.
rid of that.
Yeah.
I mean, but then again, you got to worry about smelling real bad around other people. Then
it's
not noticing.
I mean, I think it's more like changing nappies.
Oh.
You know, I could just do it without rocking a Bane mask every time. But yeah, I mean, Huey, just legendary dude. He was 33 years old when he had his first number one hit, and he had $300 in the bank. You know, and then can you imagine? Like, basically, you are an adult. You're in your fucking 30s, and all of a sudden, you have astronomical success.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why he's so humble, because he already lived a life of not being an astronomical success. Ricky Gervais is kind of a similar dude. Like, he didn't really make anything until I think he was in his 40s. Like when The Office kind of blew up.
Yeah.
I think that's. You end up much more grounded if that's your trajectory versus being like an 18-year-old who blows up, and then like everyone I know, like, you end up fucked in the head.
Yeah.
But yeah,
you don't get a chance to live your life before, or learn to be an adult, or learn to be a human. Like, you're just being thrust into this world of fame and money, and it's not a realistic world. Like, you don't have to go to school anymore. You don't have to go to work anymore. You're famous, and you're a kid. Like, I consider myself go ahead.
You got people like, I think the biggest problem is yes people. Like, people who just blow smoke up your ass no matter what. And I mean, like, I saw in a Forbes article about the Jar Jar Binks phenomenon. It's like Jar Jar Binks is the perfect personification of not being challenged, the top not being challenged enough. It's like, we're going to have this duck-billed fucking gawky big duck frog thing that talks with a Jamaican accent, and he's one of the main characters. Like, in that meeting, why didn't anyone go, that's a fucking terrible idea. Don't do that. Like, on so many levels. And the poor bastard that actually voiced Jar Jar Binks,
I heard he's like very down, like suicidal too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucked him. It's completely fucked him up. And I suppose the same thing with Hayden Christensen. He never recovered from, being Anakin.
He was bad. Like, I'm sorry.
He was bad. I mean, I couldn't have done better, but I think the dialogue, like, there was some suspect, like, if you take Natalie Portman, who I think is a brilliant actor, like, she's fucking awesome. She sucked. So it's like the line. I think it's the dialogue. That sand conversation they had about not liking sand, and it's like, what?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah, that was just bad writing, bad directing too, because there's. The directing is what's doing it. It's the person that's telling them how to do it. Like, hey, say that again, but like with less feeling.
Yeah, do it less shit. But I don't know. That I think it's just when you start like pumping out gold, there's a fallacy that happens where you start like a delusion where anything you do is gold when it's far from the truth. So
there needs to be more honesty in that, like less yes men. Like, I have friends that tell me like, oh, you don't like the new Star Wars because George Lucas is not involved. And I'm like, well, that George Lucas was involved in the prequels and they were not very good.
No. Well, I think that's the problem, is that George Lucas with the original trilogy was a disciple to Joseph Campbell. You know, he's the guy that wrote the Monomyth. He really coached him through that sort of epic, you know, classic sort of arc in the story, and it's so prevalent. Whereas those other ones, it's sort of like we go into this backstory about midi-chlorians and shit that's like, oh, I don't know if really we want to know that. Like, but I got to say, I loved seeing, I remember being just wowed out by the advanced lightsaber fights compared to the original trilogy. I love Darth Maul.
Yeah.
You know, Qui-Gon, I think Liam Nielsen, is that Neeson?
Neeson? Yeah.
Yeah, he did a great job. I liked his character apart from some of the shit. And Ewan McGregor was I think did a really good Obi-Wan. And he's coming back for a TV spin-off as Obi-Wan, which is going to be cool. But
yeah, I just started watching recently the Clone Wars animated thing, and it took me a while to get into it because I just wasn't feeling the animated style, and also the fact that it's based around the time period of the prequels that I didn't really like. So I was like, this is going to be rough. But and it is. There's a lot of boring episodes of the Clone Wars. I mean, there's just a lot of episodes where it's just politics, and I'm like, come on, isn't this for kids? Like, what kid do you know gives a shit about politics? I don't know I don't give a fuck. I do like the episodes where they go into like the Force, and they go and Darth Maul gets involved again, and they bring him back, and like, that's the kind of shit I want to see. So
well, I think that 4-quadrant thing of animation is like, it's got to appeal to kids, teenagers, adults, and old people. So pretty much the full gamut. Whereas I reckon just make it R and fucking go all out. Like, I think it'll be something the kids, like the teenagers, will be like, I really want to see this, and they'll sneak ways to watch it, and the adults will go nuts for it. I don't know, but that's just because I've grown up like I'm being selfish and going, I want Star Wars to match my view of the world, when really, it's for kids.
It's always been for kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they should break off, because there is the audience that grew up with it, that you were a kid when it started, and now you're an adult, so you want it to be adult, and they should have stuff for new kids. But trying to
I mean, that's the beauty of you could really just break the kid, teen, and adult thing, and sort of cater for all. I mean, I don't know, maybe they know, maybe the stats are out that that's not a lucrative market, so they just don't bother. But I always wanted to see Darth Vader do like what Dr. Manhattan can do in The Watchmen, just walk into a room and just turn people into mist.
Well, they gave us a little bit of that in what was it? Was it Solo or was it Rogue One?
Yeah,
when he comes out at the end and just destroys people.
Some shit. Yeah, that was cool. You get to see some of the power.
But we got what, 10 seconds? Like, I mean, cool, I guess.
Yeah, it's enough. It's enough for the fans, I suppose. Fan pandering. I mean, the latest one, there was a lot of the fan pandering, but I mean, even though I was aware it was happening, I was sort of pleased, that they rounded off some of those edges a little bit, and it was a spectacle, But fuck, how do man? We keep coming back to. It keeps coming back to Star Wars with us.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the music real quick.
Hey, can I distract you again? Look at this. I just bought this.
What is that? It looks like a Wii controller, but
it's called a frag chuck, right? And it's half a controller that acts as a keyboard, so I can use a thumbstick to actually instead of a keyboard, so I can use a mouse and this, because I'm an Xbox player.
Okay.
So using PC, I can actually have half a controller and the benefit of a mouse. For that
looks cool. I mean, I've seen the ones that have a little bit of keyboard. They have a few keys, like 15 keys, and then a little thumbstick, and you're just kind of like doing this thing. But I'm not smart enough.
Yeah, you can program all that shit to do different stuff. So anyway, so it's another tangent, but
what were you playing? You said you're an Xbox player. What are you playing?
Oh, I don't get time as much as I want to, but I love Halo. I'm following the Mortal Kombat. I I've been following Mortal Kombat since the first one, and
Are you excited about the new Aftermath?
Yeah, I mean the cinematic trailer looks really cool, and although like what I love about it is you've got this story about Shang Tsung and like fucking taking over the universe again and all that sort of stuff, and then RoboCop.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. Like
Yeah.
it's just like, yep.
You're
Cool.
under arrest. I'm like, wait, what?
yeah. Stay in school. And like, was that Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, so now you can do the final, like the RoboCop versus Terminator. We can see that happen.
Yeah, and the friendship. I think they're bringing friendships,
Yep.
back in. But I mean, that's cool that you can have that story and then have this sort of fucking
silliness.
I love that. Yeah, silliness. Like, yeah, that's fucking cool. Of course it's cool. Who's going to say, no, you can't? Consistency.
Yeah.
It's like, no, all the fans are going to fucking love it.
Yeah, man. And it speaks to you and what you're doing musically too, because like all your videos are funny. All your music is it's a little funny, but when it's in conjunction with the video, that's when you're like, oh, okay. I forget what the name of the song, but the video you have where it's you're like fighting internet trolls and you're all like in your own thing and
ain't that a bitch? Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all kind of funny and silly, but also the music is legit music. It's legitimate, and
yeah.
I love that. I love having legitimate both sides of the spectrum. I'm also a big fan of like pro wrestling, which is I get shit for that too because they're like, oh, it's fake. I'm like, yeah, but it's theater, it's entertainment. There's serious parts, there's comedy, there's ridiculousness, and you should be open to all of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we always take the music seriously, but the clips in themselves are just so pretentious. Like it's like I think Devin Townsend said like it's this weird facade where you're supposed to kind of act better than everyone else or something. Like when you're not, like you're just fucking doing something. We all. You chuck anyone in a meat grinder, they all come out the end the same.
Yeah.
So with that metric in mind, like why not just fucking have a bit of fun with it? And I mean, if someone gets a laugh, I love seeing a comment where it's like, that brightened my day up a bit, especially with this COVID, all this COVID shit. Like it's nice. When we put Stuck With You out, we've got so many comments of people like, fucking love Huey. And like, it was great to get a modern take on it. That really kind of made my morning or whatever. And it's like, cool. That's actually what it's all about, It's that, and that's what Huey Lewis's music is. It's happy. It's joyful. I think music used to, like, if you go back to the 50s, it was all coming out of that wartime. People wanted to feel happy and positive. Like that's what they wanted out of music. Not to get more depressed and fucking suicidal,
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a place for all emotions. But to me, I don't like to, I think if we can, getting a smile out of someone is good in one way or another, whether it feels energized or. But in saying that, I also love Radiohead, and that's all pretty depressing.
Yeah. I love Radiohead. I've tried to get my wife into it, and she always tells me the same thing. She gets too sad.
Yeah.
It's too sad. I'm like, yeah, all right, I get it.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's that it really does elicit an emotion, the Radiohead stuff, which is like Bon Iver, I think, is the same kind of vibe. Yeah. Like you hear it and you get this kind of feeling as opposed to your brain kind of calculating what's going on. And, I think a lot of gent and progressive metal and stuff is very brain music. Like you
nerdy, man. It's nerdy. It's math.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm a big fan of Animals as Leaders and Meshuggah and all that. And I love the challenge as a musician too. Like I love the challenge of like trying to figure out the time signature changes. Ooh, that's cool. But also you need to have some kind of feeling. Like I'm probably going to get a world of shit for this, but I don't like Dream Theater. I don't. I appreciate their talent. They're super talented. Insanely talented, but to me it's more of a talent show. It's more of them like, who could play faster? You know, like I don't feel anything in their music. I don't feel like that passion, that soul
Yeah,
or
well, I
anything.
mean, there's a lot of prog I think that falls into that category of it's like clinic, a clinic, you know, that you listen to, and I mean that if people are into that, like that's totally fucking cool, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
as
yeah.
well. But I guess I don't know. For me, I would argue the origin of music, like the purpose for it existing, if you take it all the way back to Psalms, like it was to communicate something, like, and whether that was, you know, a story or an emotion or whatever. I mean, that I say that knowing full well that a lot of 12 Foot Ninjas music is that cognitive kind of like, you know, oh, what would happen if you do this, that kind of stuff. And I think I don't know, the more I get into it, the more I'm trying to tap into that emotional side a bit more, because I feel like it's so much more powerful if people can feel something versus just be struck with an abstract thing to go, wow, that's kind of, you know, to actually relate it to something in their life. Then it kind of transcends into this other art form, I think. Yeah, I don't know. That could be a bit boring for people to hear, but yeah.
No, it's true. And I want to know where, you know, you're saying that that's kind of where you're leaning towards for new 12 Foot Ninja music. And you know, we have this
Yeah.
new cover. What's the deal with like a new album?
So we're going to be releasing a bunch of stuff um, later in the year.
Okay.
So that's the current. The COVID thing did kind of put a bit of a spanner in the works. It didn't stop us creating shit, but it made things like, you know, film shoots and shit like that kind of difficult. So yeah, later in the year is the plan. It's pushed us back a little bit, but this album, you know, like that's been one of my number one priorities, is to try and create something that's not like the other shit that we've done. And I've tried to sort of do that with, you know, I speak on behalf of the guys as well. We've tried to do that each time. And I think we've done it with this new stuff. So yeah, I'm hanging to kind of share it with people, but you got to line up the ducks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I wanted to ask you too, is there some kind of interest in doing something outside of music with comedy, just because you guys are so good at making the funny videos with the serious music and combining it, and you know, it just feels like there's opportunities there for like a comedic film or you know, something like stand-up comedy, or like is there anything like that in your that you're into or want to do?
Well, I mean, I think Dave Chappelle said all comedians want to play music and all musicians think they're funny.
Yeah.
So I mean, man, I respect stand-up comedians so much. Like Dave Chappelle's one of my heroes, and he's just he's like a jazz musician that, you know, he can just sit down and just make shit up, and he can structure it all and have a unique perspective and take you to the edge of like, oh fuck, I can't believe you just said that. But yeah, I mean, I would shit myself doing stand-up. I do a YouTube show which isn't really comedy. It's more just me pontificating to get shit off my chest, and some of it ends up, I would say, it makes me laugh, like when I watch it, and my dog has a bit of a no snort. But yeah, in terms of actually doing that for real, I don't know. I mean, I'd love to. Well, Kins does voiceovers and stuff. It'd be great to sort of do something there. But I actually wrote a screenplay.
Okay.
So it was on the last. We were touring Russia, and I finished it there. So it was over the course of like a European tour, and I've written this dark. You could call it dark comedy, but there's no zingers. It's not. It's funny because it's obscure. But you know, I've started pricing it out and stuff, and it's probably about 250 grand it would cost to make it.
Wow.
Which is money that we do not have.
Wait, you don't make millions and millions of dollars
No,
with your music?
I know music is worth more than gold these days, but you know, no, unfortunately we don't make money. But I would love to do this film because I've written the characters based on the personalities of the guys in the band largely, and some of the dialogue interactions and the scenarios. It'd be a hell of a lot of fun to do. But yeah, it's just getting something like that off the ground. It really just takes you raising the money yourself and just fucking doing it. Because if you try and get the
The funding.
gatekeepers, yeah, I mean, it's just they go, they'll try and panel beat it to match some sort of criteria or fit some agenda or whatever, and I just can't be fucked. I just want to do cool shit and not think about anything else, like not let politics or anything like get in the way of like, this would be funny, this is cool, this is who we are, this is what we would do. Other people might find it fucking funny, and it's not a that they don't have to learn anything. It's just about having a laugh,
Mm.
So
Have you thought about like Kickstarter or any of those like GoFundMe type of things?
yeah, I think maybe the time to do that is probably after we put out all this other shit. Just because for a lot of people, a lot of it's kind of like TV shows. Bands are like TV shows in a way, because if you binge watch the season, and then if the next season isn't right there, as far as you're concerned, everyone involved is dead. Like, you just don't see them. So for us, like our last album, Outlier, was like 2016. It's 4 years ago. Like a lot of folks might be like, oh, well, they're gone. What are they, they're not doing anything. But I've been fucking working like a full-time job on this project ever since. Like it hasn't stopped. And I mean, we've done touring and stuff as well. So I guess what I'm saying is putting out a new album kind of reminds people, oh, they're still around. Oh, they're still doing what they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe if there's interest after that, some sort of crowdfunding thing could be good. I mean, it's hard with film as well because people want to see it on YouTube and it's free. So
Yeah, there's no way of making. Well, I mean, you could make money if you do if you're renting it or something, but it's a finicky process trying to get it on some kind of platform and not giving it. Everybody expects things for free now.
they do.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why I think when you like the whole platform of YouTube, which I'm sure you're aware of, like the only way to make money is through the advertising model. The only way to have get the advertising model there is to not have swearing in your videos and to maximize your subscribers, and then you end up with all that fucking, hi guys, today fucking like and subscribe, please comment, and it's like, shut up.
Yeah, every time I do an intro for this show, I end up doing like a wacky one that makes my wife die. Like, welcome to the Rock and Roll Beer Guy Podcast. Yeah.
Well, it's become its own thing, and which kind of sucks. I mean, because it means that it's just advertisers don't know how to fucking get their shit to people. So it's getting harder and harder, and it's like, well, if you can do it through YouTube, but it's fucking hard. Like I don't even bother like trying to make money out of YouTube because I'm like, I just swear too much, and I want people to come on board like if they want to, and that's it. But the Patreon thing I've been using, which is kind of interesting. Like I was a bit against it at the start, and then it sort of all clicked into place and made sense. As long as it's not tin rattling and it's actually a value exchange, it's good. It all works. But
yeah,
it's a fucking weird world. I mean, you make a podcast and do all sorts of shit.
Yeah,
it's hard to actually go, unless you just do it for fucking love or whatever. Like, but you can't pay your mortgage with love.
No, it's funny. Like the podcast, I don't make money off of the podcast. I don't know if anybody listening thinks that I'm making money off the podcast. I'm not. I'm making nothing. I get product from some of the sponsors, like like I get free weed and I get free beer and free coffee, which is, I guess, essentially, if you want to think of it as getting paid, sure, because I would spend money on that regardless. I would buy coffee and I would buy weed. but I'm saving that money now because of the sponsors.
Well, I think the other side of it, where I reckon when it's authentic, like if you you genuinely like the weed, the beer, and the coffee, and you can honestly say, hey, I fucking love. If you want to buy weed, get it from here. That's fine. Like I think it's weird when you've got channels that their primary objective is reviews of shit, and you can't really trust their opinions, because how can, like, with musicians, I always think, and for anyone watching this applies to me, look at what they use on their own music.
Yeah.
Like that is their choice. That's what they're saying. That's their endorsement. I think people have got it backwards about music brands. They think brands endorse artists. Artists actually endorse brands. It's a symbiosis that it should start with, that way of what the artist actually uses or chooses to use to make that particular stuff. So I always feel really fucking strange when people ask me to review something in a video. It's like, well, I will when I use it, like, and then I'll go, hey, I used it for this. This feature's fucking cool. So, but everything I just said is probably not the most commercially wise sort of view in this day and age. If you want to make money, just haul yourself out. Do it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Belching Beaver Brewing. I'm just kidding.
What kind of beer is that? Is that IPA or what?
Yeah.
I didn't read them.
Yeah, this is the Phantom Bride IPA that they put out. They did a 5 or 6 beer deal with Belching Beaver and Deftones, and they just did different kinds of beers. And you know what's funny to me is that it ended up being, like, this beer specifically ended up being my favorite beer from that brewery. Like, usually when a band collaborates with or any kind of artist collaborates with a brewery, it's marketing. It's not passionate.
It's putting the name of the band on the can, and
they're just slapping the name on and whatever. But this ended up being my favorite beer from the actual brewery overall. Like, it's drinkable IPA. That's what I'm looking for, because I like the flavor of IPA, but I can't have more than 1 or 2 because it's sticky and kind of like heavy. Hops. And
same.
I can crush those at a concert. Like, that's my favorite thing to do is crush those at a concert. And I wanted to tell you a little story too, because you mentioned Chappelle and all that, and I don't think I've talked about it on the podcast before, but I've been doing a lot of work before the quarantine. I was doing a lot of work out at the Comedy Store here in Hollywood, and one night I remember the night I got involved with the Comedy Store, but it was one of the nights that I went out there. It was so funny, man. My buddy Tony Hinchcliffe kind of pulled me in. He's like, hey, come on to the back room of the Comedy Store. We're hanging out and drinking and smoking. I'm like, yeah, okay. Go back there, and there's this huge group of people, and I don't know anybody, because I just moved out here 4 years ago, so I don't really know people out there. The only person I knew was Tony, and that's because we were connected or whatever. But going back there, I'm just standing around, and I see people smoking weed, and I kind of just creeped up, like, hey, what's up, guys? I hit that and smoke a little bit, pass the blunt over, and I see this huge group of people to the right. And I'm like, all right, let me just pass the blunt over there. And I look up and I see Dave Chappelle.
Holy shit.
And I see him talking with Joe Rogan, and they're just like in their crew with 20 people or whatever. And I'm just like, like, how do I, hey, blunt, would you like to smoke?
Did you instantly get that gentlemanly, would you like to partake in a blunt?
Can I offer you a piece of blunt? No, and it's a funny thing to when you live out here in LA, like you're around that, you're around it, you're in it, and it spawned this idea, which I then pitched to the Comedy Store for a show, and we ended up agreeing to do it, and then we went into quarantine, so it's been canceled since, but not canceled, but postponed. But I wanted to do a thing called Punisher Patrol, where we talk about dealing with those scenarios of not being a Punisher.
I think Punisher, the fact that you said Punisher, means that that word has like, because before, like, people didn't know what people were talking about when you said Punisher.
They thought it was
But
a
it's
comic
like,
book.
yeah, well, exactly. It's like, oh, there's a fucking Punisher coming. Like, and, but yeah, it's a thing that I think started as in jokes with touring bands, and now it's like, it's out there. So that's fucking amazing that it's made it Punisher Patrol.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wanted to make a show. Just have a guest, and we'll talk about that any kind of punishing experience they've had, or them. But yeah, because the thing is, the beauty of it is that I know every one of the homies and every band person has punished somebody.
yeah,
You know, you want to talk about punishers, like, oh, here comes a punisher, but you know you've done it. You
yeah.
know
Well,
you've been that
I
person.
fucking, speaking of Deftones, I punished them. I punished the Deftones, and it's one of my, it's a regret. It pops up in my head. And it's embarrassing. I don't know what I was thinking, but I think I was possibly drunk. That was part of it. But so Deftones came to watch 12 Foot Ninja play at this festival, and we got rained out. The rain was like raining on our fucking gear and
Shit.
our fucking, what do you call it? Tour manager, stage manager just went, they're not playing because it's too dangerous. So it was like a fucking bad Disney movie where Deftones are just standing there, and when we're about to play and then we don't play, it's like, what? You know, it's like it was fucked. So we just smashed beers and, you know, kind of were pissed off, and people were pissed off because they'd traveled far to see us play, and, you know, they thought we were being dickheads by not playing, but it was like, well, we, you know, like, you don't go electricity, you know, like, it's a thing. And so anyway, we watched the Deftones play, and Chino came out, and, you know, we had a brief sort of chat, and Ro, the guitarist, was talking to Steven. It's Steven, isn't it? The guitarist.
Stefan?
Stefan, yeah. And there were some fans of Deftones there, and they asked me to take a picture of them with Chino. And I, for whatever fucking stupid reason, I thought it would be funny to just keep taking pictures. So they just kept posing, like, you know, and Chino, like, Ro was like, what are you doing, man? Because he was like doing that thing where,
upset.
yeah, the smile started to turn more into like, oh, you fucking God, come on, you know. And to me, that was like, you fucking bastard. They just got off stage and you played the, like, I'm going to just keep taking pictures prank. Don't know why. It's not even funny to be on the receiving end of that. I just deliberately pissed off Chino. And it wasn't my intention, but hopefully he didn't remember that it was me and it was connected to 12 Foot Ninja. But now I fucked that up by telling the story here. But if
Chino will never ever put 12 Foot Ninja on a Deftones tour now. No, I'm kidding.
Well, if it ever makes it back, I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. It wasn't funny.
It happens, man. That's why I thought the concept of a show about it would be so funny, because it happens. It happens to everyone. It's happened to me. Like, I don't want to pretend that I'm not a punisher. I punished plenty of people, and you know, it sucks because the next, like you said, the regrets the next day. Like, I had it with Chino too. Like, I've been lucky enough to hang out with the dudes in Deftones numerous times, and you know, it always ends up being like a cool scenario where. Actually, last NAMM here in Anaheim, I live like 10-15 minutes from Anaheim Convention Center. So we went to NAMM, and we were hanging out in the back of my car, like old school concert. Like, I had the trunk open and just beer and brews and bourbon or whatever. And it was me and Frank and Abe from Deftones and a couple other friends. And you know, we're hanging out, just drinking or whatever, and we end up making our way back, and we ran into Chino, and I just kind of froze, like, hey, I like your music.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, isn't it? I mean, it's an interesting concept because, like, you want to empathize with the fact that they're probably just wanting to fucking go somewhere and be somewhere or whatever, but you also are like, this is my opportunity to have dialogue with someone I really respect.
Yeah.
And that just, you know, those two objectives don't really work, and it results in something fucking weird happening, you know, always. But I'll mention from a band that will go unnamed. They had a term called a Trojan Punisher, which is someone that rocks up with a fucking plate of food or whatever, and they get past. It's like wearing a high-vis vest with a ladder. You get in wherever, and then once the food goes down and everyone's eaten, because bands don't fucking, like, depending on the deal, you know, it's and the level you're at, it's sometimes good to eat like something that isn't like chips and fucking
tuna
ham
cans.
or whatever. Yeah. So, but once that food starts getting consumed, it's like activate Trojan mode, you know, Punisher mode, and it's like, so what gauge strings do you use?
God.
What effect? Like, what do you do with your EQ on that sound? How do you get that? You know, and that's like, it's off.
Yeah, I guess I fall into more of a Trojan Punisher territory, but it's not intentional. And I'm not a gear nerd either, so I don't really care about any of that. Like, oh, what's your string? What's your favorite amp? Or what's your we try the guitar? This pedal I have. No, I don't like. That's not the kind of punishment that I give. But I always like the reason that the podcast even exists, and I've gotten to where I've gotten to is because of that Trojan mentality. I always bring beer.
Yeah, well,
that's my thing. I'll show up with a cooler full of beer. I'm like, hey.
Well, I mean, that's I would prefer that. I mean, I think on the flip side, I've met some awesome people, like just coming up and chatting after shows, like, but I don't know what makes them awesome. I can't. There's no recallable recipe, I think, other than they have empathy. Wherever you're at, whatever you're doing, and they respect it, and then they've got an actual, like, you know, thing to say that's kind of shows that they've thought about what they're saying, like, instead of just opening their mouth and mouth words coming out just to, you know, or they want to, like, this is the worst one, when they want to just reenact a music video with you.
Oh no.
And like you're like not there. You're not there in your head at all. Like, you're somewhere else. And they're like, you know, they want to play it out with you, and, you know, it's up there in it, and it's like, on one way it's lovely because it shows how much they love it, you know, and you gotta appreciate that. But on the other, it's like, you know, I
can imagine a lot of actors getting punished about that.
Yeah.
Like recreating scenes in movies. Hey man, say the thing. Say the thing. Say the thing, man.
Yeah. And I suppose, you know, it's just part and parcel. Like, you got to be cool with doing that. Like, cause I would never tell anyone to fuck off who legitimately liked what I do, you know. That comes before anything. But yeah, I mean, we were in Germany, and Vince Vaughn was having a meal, and, you know, just, you know, we were all aware that that's Vince Vaughn, like, you know, and then he started getting punished. Like, people were like stopping him while he's eating to take selfies, and, you know, he cracked it a bit, you know, because he's trying to eat his meal.
He's trying to have dinner, guys.
Yeah. Like, I mean, maybe after, like, if you really want one, you wait.
Outside of the restaurant.
Yeah, I don't have the balls to, you know, the picture's not worth it to really just piss someone off that much. You know, because you got to be aware that they're not going to be stoked to stop eating and take a picture. Like, they're not going to.
I hate that amongst friends. Like, if I'm in a table with friends and they're like, "Let's get a picture together," I'm like, "Fuck, I'm trying to eat." Like,
yeah,
get away. But yeah, no, I get you. That was the whole concept with Punisher Patrol. It's like, I want to talk those stories, and I also want to give tips to help people not be punishers. Like, hey man, you know what? Maybe running up, like, if you have one opportunity to talk to someone, like, let's say Chino, since we were talking about him, let's say you have the opportunity, you run into Chino on the street, and the only thing in your head is, let me get my demo to him.
Yep.
That's not going to work.
No, it never works.
It never works, dude.
No,
they're going to throw it out.
Because it's actually, I've got a good mate who deliberately gave me these fucking bottles of sauce or something, just because he knew how much of a prick it would be to carry them around in a funny bag. I had to catch a plane. I'm carrying these fucking giant bottles of shit. You know, and he did it just to piss me off. Like, he gave me this gift, and it's like, you don't want to be carrying something, and then like, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
it just doesn't. Nobody ever feels motivated to, and I think that's a bit of an illusion that people kind of imagine that the only thing standing in their way is the right person. They're, you know, listening to their music. I think, and it's only because, you know, there's been cases where they've heard that happening and leading to success, but that's like, you know, how many times that strange things happen? How many guitar players out there who cannot read music or who know nothing about music theory end up being global phenomenons? There's probably like fucking 10 that you could count, but there's billions of musicians that know nothing that is shit. So to say, I'm not going to learn anything that I'm doing because that successful person didn't, you know, that's kind of like a bit of a delusion. So I guess what I'm saying is that doesn't work. Yeah, and I'm saying it a lot because I get a lot of demos. And honestly, because I say that, I actually try and listen to them because I have that opinion. But every time I do, I'm like, I don't need to be doing this. This isn't, you know, it's rare that some of them are, there has been some that have been good, but most of them are pretty shit.
Yeah, and you know, it's like you said earlier, you have to appreciate people that appreciate you. And there's that disparity there, but why not approach it as a human being? You know, like that's always been my thing. Like, I have friends that hit me up like, how are you friends with this guy? Or how did you meet this guy? Or how'd you get this guy on your podcast? And it's like, because I treated him like a human being.
Yeah.
So you approached him and say, hi, how are you? Hey, yeah, you know, hey, I like what you did here. Or, you know, I have a conversation. Don't have your demo. Like, don't walk up to them with your demo and like, hey man, I just wanted to like, that's not that doesn't work, man.
Well, there's actually a great blog called "I'm Not Going to Read Your Fucking Script." That's the title of and it's about this guy who's like I don't know, he's a like well-known, accomplished screenwriter or whatever. And, you know, he talks about when he gets this telephone book manuscript kind of dumped on his table when he's out having coffee or whatever. And it's like, people want him to read. Can you read it and tell me what you think? And it's like, it's such a setup, because if he doesn't pump up that person's tires and basically validate what they've given him, he's an asshole, like in their eyes, even though they've burdened him to fucking invest the time it takes to read a screenplay. Like, it's such a dick move. Like, if you think about it, is you not only you asking for that person to take like the time it takes to do that instead of like calling their wife or fucking, you know, doing something they want to do, and then you want their opinion, and really it's a trap because you only want to hear that it's awesome.
Right.
So you're in this fucking,
like, if your famous friend or whatever, or famous person that you like, that you gave the script to, turns around like it's garbage, and you get mad. You don't take the criticism like, oh, maybe I should work on it. No.
Well, that's why I guess anyone listening, my advice, if you get someone to listen to your shit, ask specific questions that you want feedback on. Like, don't go, what do you think? Go, you know, do you like the guitar? Like, again, it's still, you're still hassling them to spend time on shit, but it's like, what do you think of the drum sound? Do you think the mix is like, is this chord progression generic? You know, like, do these lyrics make sense to you or whatever? If, like, always try and get, you want the negative shit. And if you don't want the negative shit, don't ask. That's what I would say.
Constructive criticism is important, guys.
Yes, it is.
Well, I think
I don't know, man. I feel like if people hear this, they're going to be like, that Stevic guy's a real fucking bastard.
No, it's the truth, guys. If you're listening, it's the truth. And if, you know, you've ever had that question in your head, because I get hit up all the time about, how'd you get this guy? It's like, well, I didn't punish him. Don't be a punisher. That's it. Just be, conscious of the fact that they are people just like you, having a life, And you know, if you want their opinion, ask politely and ask specific, like you said, specific questions. Just not like, don't look for empty praises. Like, the real
Yeah.
world isn't Instagram.
Yes.
You're not just gonna get a like, you know what I mean, and validate and have your brain release that dopamine of like, oh, they liked it. And like, no, man, maybe they don't like it. Maybe they're just being nice.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. It's the safest thing is to lie. That's fucking a horrible position to be in, you know. Anyway, we ended on
it's a good note. I like that note. I'm good to end
Okay.
it there. But let the listeners know, and I would prefer if you do this in some kind of plugin. If you let them know about the band, your do your plugs, but I'd like you to do it with specific,
all right,
any kind of filter you got.
I won't do
one.
Trump because people get pissed off when I do Trump. They think I'm making a political statement. Maybe I like this one. We'll go back to this guy.
Yeah, there we go.
So while I was too busy looking at the, what am I doing again?
Just where can people find you? Where are we gonna social media plugs? Where do we go?
All right. G'day everyone out in bloody podcast land. This is Stevic from Australian band 12 Foot Ninja. If you want to check us out, you can go to all the the bloody things, all those bloody goggle heads are checking out. YouTube.com/12footninja, Instagram.com/12footninja, Facebook.com/12footninja. Spell it with the T, the W. Hey! Just get on there, check it all out, see what you think, and if you don't like it, don't tell me. I only want to hear positive things.
Oh God!
I don't know.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time, dude.
No worries. Good chatting to you. I hope you got what you needed out of that. I sort of went on so many tangents, but yeah.
Don't worry, I'll edit all of it down. It'll be 5 minutes of you talking about Huey Lewis in the news. And
awesome.
No, but yeah, I appreciate your time, dude. And hopefully, when all this is over, you guys can hit the road, come out to the US, and maybe we can, I can come see you guys finally, because I haven't seen you live ever.
Yeah, sick. That sounds great, mate. Good chatting.
Brother. Yeah, take care. Stay safe.
See you later.
Okay?
You too.
Cheers.